If you're driving up the stunning North Sonoma coast on Highway 1, don't pass up an amazing experience at Two Fish Baking in the historic Stewart's Point store next to the Sea Ranch. You'll find treasures galore on their ever-changing, eclectic shelves, like that candy you haven't seen since you were a kid, and gifts from local artists. Famous for their home-baked breads, freshly made soups, and handcrafted sandwiches like Hilla's Thrilla. At Two Fish, you can even grab some wine or beer to take to your picnic or dinner. Bakery, market, and eatery. Open 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Fridays, and 7:30 a.m. to 5 on Sundays. That's Two Fish Baking at Stewart's Point, a destination of deliciousness. Find out more at twofishbaking.com or call 707-785-2011. That's 707-785-2011.
Good morning and welcome to Peggy's Place. I'm Lindsey, your host today, and we have quite the show lined up for you to join with us here on YouTube as well as on the radio. We've got the ladies foursome, a couple of actors from this play that is now showing at the Sea Ranch White Barn. It's called the Nip Stingle Barn. And it's going to be this weekend and next weekend. We're going to get to that in just a moment. We've got lots of events happening, and we'll introduce our guests in just a moment. I'm Lindsey, your host today, and I'm a filmmaker and also voice producer as well. And I do the shows on Fridays for Peggy. And this is KGUA in Wallala, 88.3 FM, and we stream around the world at kgua.org. And our channel on YouTube, you can just search for it, KGUA, as well as on SoundCloud. First off, I just want to let you know that we again have our Friday Farmers Market up in Point Arena, and that is going to be from 3 to 6 p.m. And then our Gualala Farmers Market is from 9:30 to 12:30 tomorrow morning. We have the Mendocino County Fair this weekend, and that is in Boonville, and it's going to be going both Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's more information that can be had by going to email charlieb1052@yahoo.com, but I'm sure you can Google it online. But it's the Mendocino County Fair and Apple Show, 9 a.m. to midnight daily, and it's at the county fairgrounds. That looks like it's going to be a lot of fun for the family. And then we are going to have the Sea Ranch Thespians, as we mentioned just before, and the ladies foursome, and that's going to be from tonight through Sunday at 4 p.m. We're going to get into the show. They're going to tell us all about it and who the characters are in just a moment, and more about the White Barn and its restoration, perhaps. And then we have up in Arena Theater at Point Arena, the Rocky Horror Picture Show is Friday night tonight, and that's 7 p.m. And that opens up, and then probably the show starts at 7:30. And then we have another cinema short at the theater as well. It must be coming right before. It's called The Miracle Club. And then on Saturday, we have Up on Old Stage Road in Wallala, and it's at the Thanktuary Retreat, and that's at 37520 Old Stage Road in Wallala, the Equinox dance for the equinox that we are undergoing. And that's breath work and sacred ritual led by Vina Sayana, 3 to 5 p.m. You can call 925-788-9451 or go to thanktuaryretreat.com. Mill Bend has another open house from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Mill Bend at 46902 Old State Highway. And they are going to be able to show you the newly restored Wallala Pioneer Cemetery, wander the trails, and hear all about the plans for extending the California Coastal Trail. And then also we've got down at Fort Ross Historic State Park, grilling and chilling with live music. That's music in the fort featuring Swing Petite and the Bad Luck Magpies and Rowdy River Special. Food and drinks will be available. That's 12 to 3 p.m. And that more information can be found at fortross.org. And then we have another equinox type event, and it's the Equinox exhibit. And that's featuring photography, plein air oils and watercolors, live music with Voyage Jazz Blues Latin Duo at Think Visual Gallery up in Point Arena, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday, the 23rd. Music at Annapolis Winery, Bards of a Feather, Jim and Sharon Lieberman will play a range of singer-songwriter tunes from the 1920s. And that's 1 to 5 p.m. at Annapolis Winery. And that is no cover, and you can call them for more information, Annapolis Winery. And then we have at Del Mar, not at Del Mar, I'm going to get to that in just a moment. Actually, I'm going to have Linda McCabe tell you all about it because she's the one that's hosting it with the Sea Ranch Forum. But that's just a second. First, I've got to tell you about something up in Manchester called I Am Democracy, starting from 12 to 3:30 p.m. And Peggy Berryhill is going to be at that event speaking along with Chris McManus from the ICO, and also Alexis Madrigal from KQED's Forum. He's going to be there among many other speakers to talk to you about democracy. And it's a community event to celebrate democracy and the beautiful people who are America. It's at Kenny Jowers and Robert Larson's place on 43700 Mountain View Road in Manchester. So that is open to the public, local vendors, music by Blue Souls, and quite a few dance and other performances will be happening. It sounds like a lot of fun. And for more information, where do you go? I don't call us here at the station. That's what you do in a pinch. So that, I think, is going to bring us to one last thing here, and that is Goodbye Close next Saturday, the September the 30th, 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. up in Point Arena. They're going to have their Goodbye Clothes Fall into Fashion sale. So that's coming up. And so now I'd like to move into our show. I'm going to introduce our guest to you. And then Linda's going to tell us about another event at Del Mar on Saturday. I'm Lindsey. You're listening to KGUA in Wallala, 88.3 FM. And Linda McCabe and Camille Campbell, sitting with me here in the studio, are both going to be in a play that was the opening night last night at the White Barn. So good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you both here. And I'm so looking forward to finding out more about the play. But first, Linda, tell us all about the Sea Ranch Forum and what you guys are doing tomorrow.
Thank you. The Sea Ranch Forum, this is the last forum we had was celebrating 50 years of the Sea Ranch Forum. So this current one is actually the passion of Barbara Schultz, who will be moderating the discussion. And the title is Wildfire Risk and the Cost of Homeowners Insurance. And it is open to the public. Even though it's the Sea Ranch Forum, it doesn't mean it's only sea ranchers. This topic is of importance to many people who are in high wildfire risk, urban interface with wildlands, so forest. And so it is going to be from 1 to 3, and we have several experts. One is Rex Frazier. He is president of the Personal Insurance Federation of California. He is a sea rancher, and he also represents the insurance industry. And he is quoted there. There's a big thing that came out yesterday by the Governor Gavin Newsom, and with the insurance commissioner. So that's going to be changing things. So it'll be very topical tomorrow. There's also Roy Wright, who lives in North Carolina, and he happens to be out here. So that's why it's scheduled for tomorrow. He's president and CEO of the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety. South Carolina. And they do recreations inside a building for what wildfire would be like and what kind of building and construction materials will help. So he's going to be an incredible person to hear from. And also David Shue. He's an architect and he's a firefighter for CAL FIRE and a former sea rancher, and has worked for many years for the California State Fire Marshal. So there's a lot of information that's going to be from these 3 experts. And so please, you can come in person or you can join by Zoom if you don't feel comfortable coming, or if it's not possible for you to. And to find the Zoom link, go to the searanchforum.weebly.com and you can get it there. And we also intend on recording it. Last forum that we did, someone forgot to hit the record button, so it wasn't. Oops. So technology is a wonderful thing when it works. So anyway, our intent is to record it and to have that available on YouTube. And you can find our channel at youtube.com/the Sea Ranch Forum.
Oh, that's very easy. And we're all reminded of fires, aren't we, this past week with the heavy smoke that we've been having from their Northern California fires and Southern Oregon fires too.
Yeah.
And we think that they'll blow out this weekend, but I just got a message from Peggy Berryhill and Susan, who are headed down the coast to Santa Rosa, and they see that's less than 5 miles visibility with the smoke.
Oh.
So it's we see it out there kind of hovering on the horizon right now. It's a little bit more clear today, and hopefully the winds will push it out this weekend, but we're reminded of fires.
Right. And I did a forum in May, so you can find it on YouTube, about the history of fires and firefighting on the coast. So
that's good.
You can check that out as well.
Well, thank you for arranging those important speakers to be here and discussing this really important issue. I've talked to so many people whose insurance has gone up to like $9,000, $10,000 a year.
Yeah. Or there is
no insurance, or they've canceled.
Yeah.
And they're struggling to find anything.
Right.
I even talked to my own farmers insurance right here, here in Gualala, and they're not taking on any new clients.
Yeah.
And I had to also up my payments, but it's just something that we're all facing. It's important to hear from these experts what some of the solutions are.
Yeah.
So, or what some of the options are.
Right. So
that's
more tomorrow for everyone. You're invited.
That's where again?
That's at the Del Mar Center, and I forget the address, but if you look on the searanchforum.weebly.com, you can find the address.
I think I may have it still here.
It's on.
And is it at the? Oh, it is.
Yeah. And for those who are not sea ranchers, I am telling the security to not annoy anyone if they don't have a parking pass. So don't worry.
It's at 4600 Leeward. So that's easy to remember. 4600 Leeward. You can just plug that into your GPS. Everybody's invited. So if you want to know about the wildfire risk and the cost of homeowners insurance, and listen to these experts.
And ask questions.
Be there, or be square 1 to 3 p.m. So ladies, thank you again for being here, because today we're talking about an event that's happening not far from the Del Mar Center, and it's in what we sort of locally call the White Barn, because it's a huge white barn, but it's called the Nip Stangle Barn. And maybe tell a little bit about that, and let's hear about this new play that just opened last night.
So the Nip Stangle Barn is a historic barn that is now, it has been given historic recognition by, I don't know, the state of California. I forget. Where's the program that I gave you? Because there's something on the back of that.
Here it is. And you're listening to the voice of Linda C. McCabe. She's a fantasy author, and she also works up at RCMS in the lab.
Yeah.
And also joining with us today is Camille Campbell. And we'll get into what she's doing and what part she's playing in the play. Go ahead and tell us.
So it was built, the Nip Stangle Barn was built in the early 1880s. So it's been around for a long time. And
there used to be horses actually in that barn.
It was placed on the National Register of Historical Places in 1987. And there was a group of dedicated sea ranchers who spent over a decade restoring the barn.
Carolyn Murray was one of them.
Yeah.
Right?
And in 1998 was the first production of the Sea Ranch Thespians. This is the 49th production of
Wow.
the Sea Ranch Thespians. And I have talked Carol Emery, who is one of the founders of this, and she's still the producer and stage manager, into doing a forum to celebrate the 50th production, which will be next spring.
That'll be a great celebration.
Yes, yes.
Right.
So-
And so now we're going to get into what is this all about, Linda? What is the name of the event? What is the name of the play?
The-
And
The play is The Ladies' Foursome, and it's by a Canadian playwright, Norm Foster. So there's 4 women who are playing golf. And so the set is a golf range. And
It's the Sea Ranch Links, actually. We've said it locally.
we changed a few things about the play. Setting, instead of being in Canada, we put it here. So to make it a little more fun and, for the people here.
speaking of fun, I like the way that it's cast as a fast-paced comedy about camaraderie, confessions, and competition.
Yes. And Connie and I, my character is Dory, the antagonist. And Connie is one of the original foursome. So the story is about 4 women who are the best of friends who golf every week together, and they've been golfing for 14 years together. And
Connie is here, Camille Campbell.
Camille Campbell.
Okay. And
And
your
I
part
play
is
Dory.
Dory. All right.
And one of their members dies suddenly, unexpectedly. And at the funeral, they meet another woman who knows their friend who also golfs, and she is invited to play a round of golf in honor of their friend. They don't know her, and Dory comes bearing secrets, and secrets are revealed
Throughout the play.
throughout the play.
Yeah, well, there's 2 other actresses. We've got Judy Johnson playing Margot, one of the original foursome members. And then Catherine Conrad is playing Tate, who is also one of the original foursome members before the deceased
I could hear you
leaves.
through this.
Oh, say that again.
So
Yeah, you're
we
there.
have a couple of people in the
You're
play
there.
with us. Yeah. Okay, great. Catherine Conrad and Judy Johnson, who aren't here today. Yeah. So I play a character named Connie. And it's been an interesting project as an actor to take on this role, because she is described by the playwright as a good golfer. And I personally have a weird relationship with golf. I grew up in a golfing community in the foothills of the Sierras. It's about 45 minutes outside of Sacramento, and it's called Rancho Murrieta. And I just sort of was a young person. I was into like grunge and goth, and I didn't identify with the golf culture at all. I do remember being recruited a couple times to be a standard bearer, and I met people like Arnold Palmer and Chichi Rodriguez, but didn't mean much to me because I didn't like golf. So I always sort of stayed away from golf courses. But then later on in my corporate career, I was mandated to golf by certain bosses. We would be taking out potential clients, and we would play Texas Hold'em style or best ball, which is something that we talk about in this play.
I had to do that too when I worked in the tech industry in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
All these, this is the way you network is through events. But
Sure.
golfing was a big one.
Yeah, but I had no skills, as certainly as in driving. So people would usually use me for the short game, which is putting, chipping. I could actually do an okay job getting it into the hole on the green. So anyway, fast forward, my sisters, who did also grow up in Rancho Murrieta, they actually liked golf and they got into it. And so a while ago, they started instituting these sister golf weekends. We live in different cities in California. And so once a year we get together and golf, oftentimes in Bodega Bay, sometimes at Sea Ranch. And so we would, get together and connect. And I started to understand more the camaraderie that happens for women around the golf course, which is something that's definitely in the play. But I still wasn't really skilled. So coming into this role, I needed some help. First, I met with my sister Elizabeth, and she tried to help me with my form of holding the driver.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
But still, we didn't have a lot of time. She was just shortly at Sea Ranch this summer for a family vacation, and I still was really not quite where I needed to be. So thank goodness for Judy Johnson, who plays Margot. She golfs, and she took me out to the links, to the driving range, and we got a what do you call it? Like a bucket of balls. Yeah,
right.
got a bucket of balls.
I want to do that one of these days.
And she helped me with my posture,
right,
with my arms, keeping my arms straight, pulling back, keeping my head down. And by the time we were done with an hour, I was making contact with the ball and it was going far. And I was like, oh, now I get this. Now I know why people play this game, because when you connect with that ball in that way, you feel powerful. And my character, Connie, she likes to feel powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I just have to interject just a moment. It just seems, I don't know if anybody can hear the extra noise going on in the building here, but they just decided to do all the extra renovation that they're doing downstairs for the Independent Coast Observer that's moving in downstairs. They're doing the drilling downstairs. So I hope you don't hear that, but we want to continue anyway. So why don't you tell us a bit about the playwright himself and what other kind of plays that he's done before?
So I don't know how many plays
he has so many plays that they don't even list them all in the by this author inside the actual play that we have.
There was something that Kathy Hitt, our director, had written about him, saying that he's like Canada's Neil Simon. So he's very popular. He's
the most produced playwright, I believe, in Canada.
In Canada. So those who saw last year's spring production, Looking, that was also
it's 2 years ago.
The pandemic has a way to
past one. Last year's.
you.
Last year, not this year's. Last year. So it was 1920 or not. 2022. Sorry, I need a second cup of coffee. Looking, that had Catherine Conrad in that as well.
Directed by Brian Holderman.
Yeah. That was also by Norm Foster. And Brian Holderman was the one who originally cast this play. And then he moved. And so Kathy Hitt graciously took over the directing position. But the Norm Foster is the most produced Canadian playwright. And this is a funny show. It's challenging to put on as an actor because we have 19 scenes.
19
scenes.
Of course,
so it's
there's 19
holes. It's
18
not
holes.
the full thing. We're not putting, we're not chipping, we're not trying to get out of a sand trap. No, we're just teeing off. So there's
each time
18 tees. And then we have the 19th hole, which is generally the clubhouse,
right?
That type of thing. Anyway, so there's 19 scenes. And so we are coming on for each hole and we're teeing off. And to make it seem like we're in a different place, we're teeing off in different directions and in different spots of the stage. It was very challenging for all the blocking to remember, where are we on this hole? What angle are we going in this hole? And
but on that topic of the recreation of this golf course setting, we have a beautiful set. This sort of astroturf that makes it look like there's a green, and then trees that mimic the what are they, the cypress hedgerows, and then also the pine trees. And then there's a big video screen that has images of our links, our local course.
So who coordinated all of that?
So Kathy Hitt took many pictures of the Sea Ranch links. She went out and took pictures. And so Don Krieger is helping with the tech, as is Joel Rudenow and Bob Mitchell. So they were working time and again to get the lighting just right for everything and for the different images that they're putting behind us.
And we're talking about the Sea Ranch Thespians that are putting on a play this weekend and next weekend. And it's called The Ladies' Foursome by Norm Foster. And we have here in the studio with us today and on YouTube, we've got Linda McCabe and Camille Campbell, both of the Sea Ranch. And this play is open to the public.
Yes.
And it's going to be tonight through Sunday this weekend. And then next week, it's going to be Thursday through Sunday. And each play performance is at 4:00, correct?
Correct. So that it's done while it's still light out. So for those people who have trouble driving in the dark, you don't have to worry. So there are parking passes available there when you come there. So if you aren't a Sea Rancher, don't worry about it. There's parking passes. You can go and put it in your car. You do have to have reservations ahead of time. You can't just show up. You can't be spontaneous and show up. You got to make reservations with Carol Emery. So that you do by either emailing her at emery@mcn.org or give her a call. And I don't happen to have her phone number on hand, but we'll get that
Or
before
you can
then.
go to the website.
The website is searanchthespians.com.
Right.
I
That's
believe.
the best way to do it, is go to searanchthespians.com, and it will give you information there because
Or it might be .org. I'm not sure. But if you Google it, you should be able to find it.
And I noticed, and this is KGUA in Wallala, 88.3 FM, a totally independent public media station that was founded about 13 years ago by Peggy Berryhill and Susan Rushmeyer. I'm Leanne Lindsey, a local producer for Film and Voice, and I am here today talking with a couple of the Sea Ranch Thespians in this new play that just opened last night. And we were talking too about some of the people behind the scenes doing some of the set decorations. And I just noticed when I opened up this nice little pamphlet that Laura Courtwright is on there too. And she is one of the women at the stables that also has a horse. And she helps out with the seal. She's a seal docent and she's a director there of that. So she's got her hands in lots of different things. And then there's Mary Hunter, Judy Johnson, Ray Radke. I've seen her many times as we've been riding our horses past the White Barn.
Yes.
And she's getting out of her red Jeep.
She has created something pretty special. So when you come in and look for your reservation and get seated, you'll see what she's created. So if you can imagine glass, water, golf balls of multiple colors and flowers and shrubbery.
She has been our assistant director for the last 12 years.
Wow.
And
That's a long time.
Ray, I did not realize until recently, is a wealth of knowledge of history of Sea Ranch, because one of her first jobs was working for Oceanic.
Oh, that's right. She did tell me that once.
So
Ray,
she's
I didn't
been
remember.
here for a long time.
Yes.
And she knew the founders of Sea Ranch well because she worked with them. And she was the first one to organize the first volunteer picnic for the Sea Ranch Fire Department.
That is
50
still ongoing
years ago.
today.
Yes. And the first picnic was at the hot spot. And so they, knowing that there wasn't enough parking, they were working with the Boy Scouts and others to shuttle people from a parking area down to the hot spot. And she had no idea about how many things to order. So she ordered 100 hamburgers and a lot of chili and hot dogs. There was one hamburger left over. So anyway,
it drew quite the crowd then.
Yes,
and
it
we're
did.
so thankful for our fire departments. I just
Yes.
want to put that out there. Thank you to all the
Yes.
volunteer firefighters.
So
Everybody in the play are volunteers.
yes.
This is an all volunteer.
Yes,
run
we are
organization.
not paid. No.
No.
But so for those, I found the phone number. It is 707-785-2548. And leave a message for Carol Emery.
One more time.
707-785-2548.
Great. Or Carol
or just Emory,
Oh.
EMORY at mcn.org.
And she responds really fast. We got our tickets for Sunday. We can't wait.
Yeah.
So I remember we were, my friend Debbie Sullivan and I were riding our horses one day past the barn, and Ray was getting out of her Jeep. And I asked her, I said, so are you going to be in the play itself? Oh, no, I don't do that.
So she has helped out with the rehearsals if there was someone who wasn't feeling well and they weren't there. So she did some reading, and Carol had done some readings but they don't want to be in the production
spotlight
themselves.
Yeah.
So
True. And we had a lot of setbacks, actually. We had, first of all, we lost the original director. And then we had illnesses. We had multiple cast members out for over a week with illness.
I've heard lots of people coming down with a variety of different things.
And we had, so we had some also scheduling problems with pre-existing commitments for folks. But then it gets better. Then we started having spooky things happening in the barn, like electrical explosions and lights going out. And so I have renamed this play, for people in the theater world, look at this joke, the Scottish Lynx play.
Oh,
it's funny because dress rehearsal on Wednesday night, we had something with lighting up in the lofts. It started to fruit out, and we heard like what sounded like thunder. And so I rolled with it. It's like, oh, we're having a thunderstorm.
But then I remembered we're golfing and people don't golf in lightning.
And then the lights kind of came back on, and we could smell,
It smelled bad.
Yeah. And it was just like, we didn't know, but it had,
you don't want it going up in flames either.
Right.
Right.
And so I was very cognizant. And if it's like, if we saw anything, we were going to use the emergency exits, but we didn't. We went on. So the few people that were there for our test audience, I'm sure they smelled things too, but we kept going on. And then at intermission, they changed some things. And then yesterday morning, they changed it. And it changed the things further and really worked on it to make sure that all the lighting was correct.
But that's the fun of live theater,
right?
And you just have to roll with the punches.
There you go.
And Kathy Hitt said, a bad dress rehearsal means a good opening night, and we killed last night.
I want to say a little bit more about these characters, because obviously we can't reveal the plot. We don't want to have any spoilers.
We don't want spoilers.
But there's a real richness into these characters. And one of the things that I was reflecting on about this play is that because it's all women and they're all fairly of the same socioeconomic background, there's not power imbalances the way there are in a lot of plays where you have mixed gender, mixed class and status, and those create dramas in and of themselves.
This is very
so
true.
Then where's the drama, right? When you have, of course, we know that there could be drama among peers, but that's sort of what actually feeds the through line of this play. And so I think each of us as actors, actresses, has had to relate to each of these characters. And there are things that I think that we can each identify with our character. And there are things that we don't necessarily identify with our character, and that we have to use our imagination as actors to really embody that aspect of them. So obviously, like, Judy and Catherine aren't here to be able to speak to that, but I'm curious to know from you, Linda, what did you really like and identify with about Dory, and what was more of a stretch for you?
So the more of a stretch for me was, well, I do sort of identify, but there's one scene where it's very religiosity, talking about heaven and hell and afterlife and such. And there was a period of my life, about from 7th grade to some point in high school, where I was holier than everyone. Oh, yes. I read the Bible every night, and I was holier than everyone. And if I saw someone who was a friend of mine who was smoking cigarettes, off the list, they were no longer a friend. I was just like, I was very
black
judgmental.
And white.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to protect my soul. And it's like, if you have to, at some point in your life, be insufferable, having that being done in high school is maybe the best time in your life so that you don't start doing drugs and doing alcohol and having unprotected sex, which
Sure.
a lot of teenagers do to try to fit in. And so so anyway, that's one portion of the character, is that she goes off, and especially against Connie, in some things where she looks at her and thinks of her as being sinful. So
Oh,
yeah.
right.
And it was just like, as I was reading the script, I'm like, I don't want to do that. So some of those lines are harder for me to remember the exact wording because I really don't like them. I get through it. It may not be letter perfect, but the sentiment is there. So that was kind of a stretch. Some of the other things about Dory is, I mean, she's funny. And there's a couple scenes where the scene is focusing on Dory and the secrets she's carrying, and she doesn't necessarily want to admit them to herself, but like Tate brings it out from her, and then she has to deal.
And Tate
with
is
that.
Catherine Conrad.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And same right back at you, Camille.
Yeah. So Connie, I think of Connie obviously as competitive. And so
Yes.
for me, I wasn't socialized to be competitive. I was socialized to take care of my younger siblings, and I'm a therapist in my profession.
Oh,
so I'm very
okay.
supportive.
I want to find out more about that.
Yeah. So, but it's been fun to get into Connie's competitiveness because I realized I do have competitiveness in me. I just have never really had anywhere to express it.
I can see it in your face.
And so embodying Connie has been an opportunity to really kind of like just go for it and want to win and just not care what people think about you.
It's fun to be an actor because of
Yeah.
that. You can
Yeah.
explore all these different
Yeah.
parts of personalities that aren't normally yours, but you can play them
Yeah.
out.
So how do you like playing a very sexualized character? That's not a giveaway. In the first scene you see, she's a very sexual woman.
I mean, yeah, you could call it sexualized, but the way I connect with it as an actor is I see her as vital. She's just really in her body. She just really gets a lot out of her just vibrant existence. And so she just really enjoys things.
Exudes that.
And that is so interesting to me to embody that too, because I'm more of an intuitive person. I'm kind of like, I'm a little bit of a klutz, like ask Kathy Hitt. She had to teach me the blocking over and over again. I would still get it wrong. Eventually it stuck, but yeah, so I'm not a super like sporty type. And so that's interesting.
I'm a partner in klutziness too.
Yeah, so she's coordinated, and she also has a strong sex drive.
Well,
Very much so.
A little teaser there.
Well, I mean, there's things about each of the characters that are introduced very quickly, and for Connie, that's in the first scene, so that's not a spoiler.
Well, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to KGUA 88.3 FM in Molalla, California. That's on the southern Mendocino coast, just across the bridge from Sonoma County in Northern California. This is a totally independent public media station. I'm Lindsey, your host today, and we are talking with two of the Sea Ranch Thespians who are in this new play by Norm Foster, The Ladies' Foursome, and he's a Canadian playwright, and it's a fast-paced comedy about camaraderie, confessions, as you're hearing about, and again, competition.
And I would say philosophy.
Oh, there is philosophy in there. And we don't talk politics. No, there's no politics in it. But there is a lot of talk about sex. A lot. So I wouldn't necessarily bring young kids to it.
Good to know.
But yes,
right?
I mean, I think almost every scene has some aspect of sex. Some scenes more than others. And it's very funny. Very funny.
So describe again how it goes from one scene to the next and what
So-
changes.
So we tee off. All four of us tee off in a different direction on each tee, and then we leave. And then that there's some off stage chipping and putting that you don't see, and then you're at the next tee.
And drama that you don't see.
Yeah.
But ultimately what happens at the next tee fills you in on where they're at with each other. Yeah. And my character, because she's really invested in the actual game and winning the game, she keeps score. So she's often updating her scorecard.
That's important in golf.
Yes.
And in the play.
But I found out that I have a score keeping book, and it has a pencil with an eraser on it. And I found out that's taboo because I was over at the links getting a costume and some other items. And I noticed that the pencils they have there don't have erasers.
No, not at all. I played
Right.
I played golf as a girl. My parents belonged to a golf course, and I was in junior golf, and I had no power. I wasn't very good, but I had a good swing. It's like, okay. So right now, that's all that's important, because we do not have balls on stage.
Oh yeah, don't worry.
So
You're not
don't-
going to get hit.
We will not be chucking balls out at the audience. Nope. Not even plastic balls. Nope. So it's all miming, teeing up, and then picking up our tee afterwards. When we were rehearsing, Kathy was like going, "Did you pick up your tee? Come on, pick up your tee."
I was like, I blew it away. I broke it to shreds.
Yes.
She's like, no, pick up your tea.
And it seems like that Kathy and other set directors really have gone out of their way to, make the set enjoyable as you go from one scene to the next.
Yes. We have a dedicated group of people who volunteer at the barn, and they affectionately are called Barneys.
Barneys, that's
Yes.
right. Let's talk about them.
And they make the sets and help us out, and then they will be tearing down the set when we are done with this production and getting the barn ready for other events, such as the annual Posh Squash the harvest dinner and the Taking Part symposium that's going to be at the barn later in October. So
good to
they
know.
have to get that ready and torn down. And Carol was talking about the recycling of the sets, so that if there's things that they can use, because they made stones and such for this, and they will be using those, and they'll be putting those away for potential future
I
productions as well.
think of the Thespian productions as kind of like Burning Man, kind of like Burning Man. There's a lot of effort that goes into creating these beautiful artistic creations. They go up for a couple of weeks, and then they all have to come down.
That's true in any kind of production. Well, I want to just give a shout out to some of the other people that are listed here that might be part of the Barneys, but I see John Sisto there, locksmith. John has helped me out a few times with my property, getting the locks fixed. And the Sea Ranch Foundation, the Sea Ranch Association, John Prescott, John Ferrenti, who is Barbara Ferrenti's husband.
Yes, he helped me and Catherine Conrad and Judy Johnson came out as well, but we hit a bucket of balls. Camille wasn't here for that night, but I hadn't played golf in decades.
That's me.
So
right?
it was trying to reconnect with my swing. And so he helped give us some direction. And that was the first time that Catherine Conrad had ever picked up a golf club. So that's, I contacted John because I know he's a golfer.
He and Barbara both are. And she manages the stable over where the horses are now.
Yeah.
Because the horses used to be in this white barn where
Years
the
ago.
play is held.
Yes.
And then in the mid 80s, they created the stables across the way. And so this has now been renovated. It's beautiful inside.
And
and
you
what a
don't
unique
smell
environment.
horses
No,
or horse urine or anything else like that.
None of that.
It's been cleaned.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that.
But it's very cool to see the stables, where you can open the doors or look at them as they were before when they did
Yes.
have horses in there. And I remember meeting a woman who at 16 had her horse in there for a long time. But it is just an incredible environment to have a play. And this play, folks, again, For those who are here locally, everybody's invited. It's not just for Sea Ranchers, it is for the whole community. So it is going to be this weekend and next weekend. Say again the times and information about that.
The curtain is at 4 p.m. and it lasts about 2.5 hours. So you'll be out at about 6:30 before the sun sets. So you'll be fine if you have problems driving home at night. Tickets are free because they are sponsored by Carol Emery and the Wingate Foundation. And there are people who donate money as well to help support the Thespians. But for you to get tickets, you do not have to pay anything, but you do have to get reservations ahead of time. And that you can get that by emailing Carol Emery. It's Emery, EMORY @mcn.org, or call her at 707-785-2548, or look online with SeaRanchThespians.com.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to worry about parking, do you?
No. So I wanted to give another shout out because we've mentioned a lot of people in the crew and the cast, and
You're listening to Camille Campbell, by the way.
yes, thank you. So we don't have a lot of props in this play. We're on a golf course, so there's not a lot of things that need to get changed on the set in between acts and scenes. So we didn't think we really needed a backstage crew beyond our stage manager, Carol Emery. However, I wanted to thank Carolyn Carnell because she came in at the last minute to help us because, we're 4 people with these golf bags and we're bumping into each other on the stairs, and there's all sorts of drama that can happen off stage that you can't anticipate. All of a sudden, somebody's earring's gone. All of a sudden, someone's safety pin is sticking them the wrong way. And so she responded to our need for emotional support and personal coaching backstage. And she's been jumping in, and she is a golfer. So she also can give us tips on our swing.
I'm actually really glad that you brought this up again, because something I thought about earlier when you guys were talking about some of the mishaps that have happened lately, especially with the electrical, and this is something that people who are actors and in the theater world know a lot about. And and you're a writer. I could just see you doing this. This is Linda McCabe, who is Linda C. McCabe, if you're looking it up on Amazon for her fantasy books. But I'm telling you, there's a great play, Noise is Off, about behind the scenes of the play, the chaos that can happen. So you need to write one about this play and the chaos behind it. And then you act out parts of the play, and then you show the behind the scenes acting. It's hilarious. I love that kind of stuff.
That sounds fun.
So whenever you're ready.
Oh, this is live theater, and one never knows what kind of slight things from perfect you're going to have, where there's a couple lines that are missed or whatever. And sometimes we wind up as partners on the stage covering for someone else or saying something that they forgot and trying to get them back in the right cue. And if we do it well, the audience will never know.
And you guys had your opening night last night, and you said you killed it.
Yes, it was great.
We had a great audience. There were like 50 people, I believe, and they
Nice.
laughed out loud. Laughing out loud is always encouraged.
Especially in a comedy.
Right.
And they laughed at the places that we thought were funny. And we thought were funny jokes. And it was like going, yes.
That's an interesting thing. It's like people who've created a film that they sometimes will go to different theaters to see how the audience reacts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other thing, that each time you're doing this, you're getting a different audience reaction.
Well,
and it will be similar in many ways, but then it's also got its own energy.
Absolutely.
Right?
And when at the end of tech and dress, it can you've been doing it a lot. You've been doing it over and over again. And so it can become a little bit of a strain to get through 2 hours of being on stage. But last night with all of the energy and the love that was coming from the audience, it just fills your tank up and you're just like, okay, I can do this. I can do this for 2 hours.
I can't even go 3 if you will ask me for.
Exactly.
Right.
It's an invisible thing, but it's so real.
So describe each character, if you would, Linda. So the
Okay.
differences in their personalities.
Okay, so Tate, played by Catherine Conrad, is a housewife, stay-at-home mother, but she's now a grandmother and she's married to a surgeon. And
She's very pretty.
yes, and she's very pretty. And she is,
We'll leave it at that.
yeah, okay. So, and Judy owns a construction company and is a very successful woman and has a lot of snark. A lot of snark. And she's got a lot of funny lines. One is a 4-letter word for married. Yeah. And I won't say anything that might hurt your FCC license.
Oh, good. Well, I'm reading in the pamphlet that they moved to the Mendocino coast, she and her husband Scott, back in 2016. And she was and may still be an accounting systems consultant. So she's, I wanted to hear more about your
She's a
background too.
Renaissance woman for
So
sure.
what's really fun about Judy Johnson and me is that we grew up in Michigan in towns about 20 miles apart.
No way.
Yeah. It's like she saw my Michigan State alumni sticker and she's like, "Are you from Michigan?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Where from?" And I said, "I grew up in Birch Run." She's like, "No way. I'm from Bridgeport." And I'm like, they're both in Saginaw County. We weren't in the same athletic league, but
right.
we were like, that's where we went bowling, was at the Candlelight Bowling Alley up in Bridgeport. It was just like, yes. So now we're, talking about, Bob Seeger and a bunch of other Michigander stuff. So yeah, it's fun.
So tell us about your background, and I want to hear from you, Camille. So tell us what you're doing currently outside of acting.
Oh, me? Oh, yeah. Besides the Sea Ranch Forum and working at RCMS, I'm also slowly writing the 3rd book in my fantasy series based on the legends of Charlemagne, which are similar to the legends of Arthur, but not as well known today. But they were a huge cycle of legends, and they are available at Four-Eyed Frog's books. So the first one is Quest of the Warrior Maiden.
I loved it. And I so enjoyed the second one. I'm waiting for the 3rd one to come out.
Yeah, I've got over 250 pages written, and I'm going next month to France.
That's the other thing I was going to say, is that you've done
research.
extensive
Yes,
research.
yes. I need to go back to the cemetery in Arles. So that's going to be one of the days that we go, is to see that. And we're going to go to Nîmes just to do some more research with the Roman monuments and such like that. So yeah,
that's the other thing that comes so clearly through your writing, is the extensive historical research that you've done.
Yeah,
throughout Europe.
Yes, I also have a master's as a historian of science from Sonoma State University. So I put a high thing on myself to try to do research and not just right off the top of my head, but actually have something behind what I'm writing. And if I can't figure it all out, then I'll try to skim that and not say something that's wrong. Yeah.
So when people say, what is it you guys do up there in that remote place called Sea Ranch or Gualala?
A lot of
things, as you can see.
If you're not busy, you're not trying.
Exactly. And did you mention RCMS lab?
I am the laboratory technical consultant at RCMS. So my clinical laboratory science license, and which I got a bachelor's of science at Michigan State in laboratory medicine. So I've been working in laboratory medicine for over 40 years.
We're
now.
so
Yeah,
fortunate
something
to
like
have
that.
you here
Yeah.
in the community. And she's married to Scott Nevin, who's one of the board members, current board members of the Sea Ranch
Yeah.
board. And also you have a young son. And
He's in Germany
he's
right
in
now.
Germany.
Yes. And he's doing a year abroad, and he wants to do his classes, which haven't started yet.
Ian is his name.
Ian Nevin, and he is going to be learning journalism in Germany.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And you, Camille, let's hear about your background. This is Camille Campbell playing the part of Connie in the play at the White Barn, as we call it, the Nip Stingle Barn, The Ladies' Foursome by Norm Foster. Camille.
Yeah, so I am a psychotherapist in private practice, and I work with adult patients.
And do you do that here in the Sea Ranch?
I do that online, and that's
Online.
something that happened because of the pandemic. I used to have an office in San Francisco. And after we, came out of lockdown, I kept checking in with my clients, but they all preferred to continue on Zoom as opposed to driving from the Salesforce Tower across town to fight for parking to go in for 50 minutes to do therapy. So it's been really a wonderful thing to be able to continue to be partially living at Sea Ranch, but still working full time in my practice. My background is in public health in the city. I worked for Curry Senior Center in the Tenderloin before I opened my private practice. I also worked for Sutter Health, CPMC, when I was doing my intern hours. So that's sort of my background and my current professional endeavors, but I'm very involved with theater. I'm involved with the Yat Bentley Center in Oakland, the Center for Performance. And one of my acting coaches, Tom Bentley Fisher, who's the founder of that acting center, is going to come see this show. He's coming up to Sea Ranch. He's going to be at the show on the 30th. So it's really exciting for me when the actors and the acting community, the performance community from the Bay Area and Sea Ranch can weave together a bit. It's fun.
It's a good fabric to weave because it strengthens everyone. And this performance again is at the White Barn, Nip Stingle Barn in the Sea Ranch. And it's again this weekend, next weekend, and it is at 4:00 each day. Parking, don't worry about it. Just come and attend this event. You do need to make a reservation. And so once again, Linda, you can tell us how to do that. We're on YouTube, so if you've missed this show, you can catch it again anytime. Just go to YouTube and type in KGUA and you'll find it. And then also it's repeating today at 1:00.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So call Carol Emery at 707-785-2548. Send her an email at Emery, EMORY @mcn.org. or find it on the website, SeaRanchThespians.com.
And it's again Thursday through Sunday next week, and then Friday tonight at this afternoon, I should say, 4:00.
There's 70 people coming tonight, so I don't
70, and so there was 50 last night.
I think max capacity is 100-ish.
I don't know. So I don't know if
It
there's
depends,
any
like,
more available tonight or not.
Just call
I
Carol,
don't know.
find out.
And masks are there if you need them. They're recommended, but they are not required.
Oh, that's a very good point. Thank
Yes.
you. Well, you've been listening to Linda McCabe and also
Camille Campbell.
Camille Campbell. Your name has that kind of sound to it. Camille Campbell, trying to pronounce it.
I know about getting caught up on certain consonants and vowels.
That's
Believe
exactly
me,
what's happening.
it's happened on stage.
And we're talking about The Ladies' Foursome again. It's by playwright Norm Foster out of Canada. And everybody listening around the world, this is a beautiful place to be if you're ever going to visit. We're in what is called Mendocino coastline of Mendocino County and Sonoma County in Northern California. And I'm Leanne Lindsey. I've been your host today. I'm a film and voice producer as well. My company is Sea Storm Studios in the Sea Ranch. And this is Linda C. McCabe, who is also an author and a medical lab director. And you heard everything else.
Yes.
And then also Camille Campbell, who has an amazing background as well. And it straddles both the city and here in Sea Ranch. and is playing the part again of
Connie
Connie,
Sajak.
and you are Dory.
the antagonist.
All right.
Thank you, Leanne. This is
Thank
great.
you.
Yes.
You're welcome. Well, you ladies, now we're going to say goodbye to our audience. This is KGUA in Wallala 88.3